Hello and welcome to Model Kit Stuff, and welcome to part 13 of our Endeavour build by Amati. So in this episode we're going to be tackling figure 12, which is the construction of this skylight, and as per before, it shows us the parts that we're going to need down at the bottom here, so it's all familiar from what we've been doing with the deck house. So let's read our instructions. Following the same procedure adopted for the deck house, assemble the central skylight with the pieces from 24 to 29. Prepare the pieces in transparent acetate 43 that simulate the glasses, following the dimensions specified in the drawing below in the 1:1 scale. Finish with mahogany colour paint and a transparent clear varnish. Okay, so nice and straightforward. We're familiar with doing some of this, and if you remember in the last episode we already pre-painted our parts, but they will need touching up. So let's have a look at that. We'll move our model out of the way and get our parts out of its protective sleeve. So let's identify our parts first. Okay, so it is these parts here: 24, 25, 29, 28, 26. It says 24, but I've got 27. Oh yeah, 26, 27, 25 and 24. Yeah, that's everything in this area here. So as per before, we're just going to remove those from the fret. Now these are sort of connected together, so once you've cut through the outer tabs, you'll actually have the whole set of parts drop out. Like that. And then we can put this away to make sure that we don't get any sanding dust or anything like that on it. So it's always good practice to only have on your desk the things that you are using and put everything else well away. And then once we've removed our individual parts, just as we've done before, we're going to take a flat file and just clean up those tabs. There we go. And then we can put those parts to one side, ready for assembly. So I'm going to clean up the rest of these parts and then I'll come back to you. Okay, I've cleaned my parts up now and we're ready to build. And my little tip, I can't remember if I've mentioned this in a previous video or not, is we're going to have to build this at a right angle. And if you've not got, it's quite easy to do if you've got a grid. You can put the parts together and make sure they're square on the grid. But if you've not got a grid, or you want to give it a bit of additional support when you're building it, then I can highly recommend a Lego brick. Doesn't matter which one, as long as it's a decent depth, so not a plate but a brick, and you've got perfect 90 degrees right angles on them. So I'm going to use a brick to help me keep this in the right position as we build it. I'm using the aliphatic resin wood glue that we've been using throughout the build. You can get this from not all craft shops stock it, but certainly any online store that's retailing wooden kits will have this in stock. So look for that rather than general wood glue. This is stronger and dries a bit quicker and has all sorts of benefits to it. It's better for sanding and so on. So I recommend that if you've not got that, go and find yourself some. So that's what we're using, and I'm just using a small piece of wire as an applicator. So we can put our glue on our joint like so, just a small amount, and get that located like so, and then I can go in with my, you can see all that's sort of leaning everywhere. If I go in then with my Lego brick and push that straight, of course because we're on camera it's going to fall off, but just to show you it happens to all of us. There we go, and then just carefully get the Lego brick into the corner like so, and then I can hold the Lego brick and I can just push against the sides and make sure they're nice and straight, that they're stood up correctly, and that we've got a nice tight joint. And of course the wood glue is not going to bond to our Lego brick, whereas if you're using CA, I don't recommend you use a Lego brick because that might become a permanent feature of your model and probably won't look great. So once your glue has dried and you're happy that you can carry on with the build, then we can put the next part in, and we'll do it exactly the same way, and we'll carry on doing that until we've got our rectangular frame in place. I'll just push that into place like so, put my Lego brick back in. There we go, we know that's nice and square, so we can let that dry and then we'll put the end piece in. So you know what we're doing. I'll come back to you when the end piece is in and we're ready for the next step. Okay, with our frame now nicely glued into place, and I'm happy that that's holding itself, we can now put these on, and we want to put these on before we put the acetate on because we can get underneath and put the acetate in. Now when you look at the instructions, there is a thin edge and a thick edge. The thin edge goes across the top, and if you wish, with your flat file, you can put a chamfer onto the edge here. So if we just like we did on the skylight element of the deck house, just put a little chamfer in, and that's going to help those two parts meet at the top, at the apex of the roof line, and just fit a little bit more snugly. There we go. So just by putting a chamfer on, what we've done is we've taken the corner off and made an edge. So rather than the edge being like that, 90 degrees and 90 degrees, we've just put a little slope in so the two sloped halves can sort of meet together. So I've already done it on this other one, and that means as long as you get both chamfers together, you get a bit of a tighter join, rather than having a big triangular gap like so. So okay, we can now put our glue down. And as we can glue both of these on, we might as well just apply the glue, because the glue isn't quick drying, so you've got plenty of time to get your glue on. There we go. So remembering you've got thin end on the top, check where your chamfer is. I can place the first one on, and then if I put the second one on, like so, then we can just push them together, which gets them nicely lined up. Make sure any overhangs are even on both sides, so check your sides. Yeah. And then make sure that your edge is lined up and it all looks nice and straight and smart. Now give it a moment or two to cure, and when the parts have stiffened up a little bit, you can then wipe away any excess glue with a little bit of tissue paper or a damp cloth if you're careful. I'm just going to wipe mine away with a bit of tissue paper like that. Don't worry if you miss something, you've got a lump of glue, you can sand it off later. Okay, so we're going to let that dry, and then we're just going to look, while that's drying, we can cut out our acetate parts. Okay, as we've done before, we're just going to score the acetate and remove it. This is no different a process than we've already done on other episodes. I'm just going to do two at once. There we go. And do that end. Then we can follow the lines. And just as before, I'm just doing two scores, and then we can finish it off on our cutting mat. If you don't have a cutting mat, then some thin cardboard that you can cut against, like the inside of the box lid or something like that will do just fine. Anything that prevents you getting your knife going through to the actual desk that you're working on. Right, that's scored out now, so we'll just remove my masking tape. I always keep offcuts of masking tape. They're handy for little tasks like this, even if you think they're not fit enough to be used again for masking a model. There's lots of times when you need a little bit of masking tape. Okay, so we can get our instructions safely out of the way, and now we don't need the rule. We can just gently follow the lines that we've already scribed in until the parts separate off. So that's our first one out. And our second one doesn't want to leave. There we go. Right, get rid of all these little bits of offcut first. And then we'll tape that one down so it's easy to find, and we know we've not lost it. And then we can turn our skylight upside down and just check fit at this stage that this fits okay, because if it doesn't, we can trim it now before we're ready to put it in. And the fit is a little bit too tight, so I'm just going to trim a little bit off. You could do that with your knife, or I'm just going to use my scissors here. Yep, still a little bit tight. Just keep trimming it until it fits. But lots and lots of small alterations. There you go, that'll go in now. Okay, so now my glue is dried on this, we can go in and we can paint in all the areas where we've had to tidy it up when we remove the tabs, and give that a coat of paint. It wants to have the same number of coats of paint that you've done previously, so that'll be 2 in my case, and then just leave it to dry and put it to one side until you're ready to glue the acetate in. So I'll get back to you in a minute. Okay, now we have painted up our skylight and the paint has dried. We can get in now and add our glazing. So what we're going to do is just double check everything fits, and we're just going to dry fit it. So we're just going to plop it in place, get it to sit down where we want it to sit. It's quite a tight fit because the glazing has to go right up to the end, otherwise you will see that it's shorter than the openings that we're trying to glaze. There we go. So you can see that's the first one in, and then I'm going to put the second one in as well. There we go. So they're now dropped into place. So what we can do now is just tack them in from behind. So my wood glue has formed a little skin. When that happens, just break the skin up and move it out of the way so you can get to the liquid adhesive underneath. And we're just going to put small parts of glue where it's not going to be seen. So this center pillar here is quite thick. So this is a good place for us to put some adhesive just to hold. We're just tacking it into place. You know, no one's going to be swinging on it. It doesn't need major glue. And then at the end here where it touches with the wood, little bit of glue there, same on the other side. It does dry clear, so if you make a little bit of a mess, it doesn't matter too much, but obviously try not to. And then I'm going to put a little bit at the end in the center there against the side bulkhead. And what we want is the adhesive to just touch the corners of the acetate and the edge of the wood, and then as it dries it'll form a bead that will just hold it into place. You're almost making a little mounting bracket out of adhesive. So there we go, that's tacked into place, and when we turn it over we can't see any of that glue, so that's brilliant. Okay, now we have painted up our skylight and the paint has dried. We can get in now and add our glazing. So what we're going to do is just double check everything fits, and we're just going to dry fit it. So we're just going to plop it in place, Get it to sit down where we want it to sit. It's quite a tight fit because the glazing has to go right up to the end, otherwise you will see that it's shorter than the openings that we're trying to glaze. There we go. So you can see that's the first one in, and then I'm going to put the second one in as well. There we go. So they're now dropped into place. So what we can do now is just tack them in from behind. So my wood glue has formed a little skin. When that happens, just break the skin up and move it out of the way so you can get to the liquid adhesive underneath. And we're just going to put small parts of glue where it's not going to be seen. So this centre pillar here is quite thick. So this is a good place for us to put some adhesive just to hold. We're just tacking it into place. You know, no one's going to be swinging on it. It doesn't need major glue. And then at the end here where it touches with the wood, a little bit of glue there, same on the other side. It does dry clear, so if you make a little bit of a mess, it doesn't matter too much, but obviously try not to. And then I'm going to put a little bit at the end in the centre there against the side bulkhead. And what we want is the adhesive to just touch the corners of the acetate and the edge of the wood, and then as it dries it'll form a bead that will just hold it into place. You're almost making a little mounting bracket out of adhesive. So there we go, that's tacked into place, and when we turn it over we can't see any of that glue. So that completes the skylight, and that also completes figure 12 of our builds. Now in next time's video, because these come out every 2 weeks, we won't be tackling figure 13. We'll be coming back to the stand that we're using. So we'll be coming and having another look at this, and what we'll be doing is we'll be disassembling it and assembling it and representing it so we can use it as a display stand rather than just a build stand. So for those of you that want to use the stand from the kit, we will have a look at making this something that looks like a nice showpiece rather than just a little bit of plywood and some dowels. So that's what we'll do in the next episode. So I'm looking forward to seeing you then. Thank you very much for joining me. You enjoy your modelling, and I will see you in the next episode of Building Amati's Endeavour. Bye for now.
Hi, and thanks for watching. You can support the channel by hitting the like button, and if you haven't subscribed, please consider the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you don't miss any content that I put out. Model Kit Stuff is a self-funded channel, and I don't do membership or Patreon or buy me a coffee. So if you'd like to further donate to the channel and ensure the cameras keep rolling and the content keeps coming, then you can consider making a donation through my PayPal. You'll find a link to that in the text below. You enjoy your modelling, and I'll see you soon.